शम्भो शङ्कर नमः शिवाय साम्ब सदाशिव नमः शिवाय शम्भो शङ्कर नमः शिवाय साम्ब सदाशिव नमः शिवाय शम्भो शङ्कर नमः शिवाय कैलासाधिप नमः शिवाय कैलासाधिप नमः शिवाय साम्ब सदाशिव नमः शिवाय शम्भो शङ्कर नमः शिवाय साम्ब सदाशिव नमः शिवाय शम्भो शङ्कर नमः शिवाय विभूति शङ्कर नमः शिवाय विभूति शङ्कर नमः शिवाय साम्ब सदाशिव नमः शिवाय शम्भो शम्भो शङ्कर नमः शिवाय साम्ब सदाशिव नमः शिवाय शम्भो शङ्कर नमः शिवाय त्रिशूलधारी नमः शिवाय त्रिशूलधारी नमः शिवाय साम्ब सदाशिव नमः शिवाय शम्भो शम्भो शङ्कर नमः शिवाय साम्ब सदाशिव नमः शिवाय शम्भो शङ्कर नमः शिवाय चिदम्बरेश नमः शिवाय चिदम्बरेश नमः शिवाय साम्ब सदाशिव नमः शिवाय साम्ब सदाशिव नमः शिवाय शम्भो शम्भो शङ्कर नमः शिवाय साम्ब सदाशिव नमः शिवाय शम्भो शङ्कर नमः शिवाय नमः शिवाय नमः शिवाय Oh. ॐ। सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। We are in the 7th Anuvaka. Repeat after me. Agamsuscha me Rashmischa medabhyascha me Adhipatischa ma upagamsuscha me Antaryamascha me Aindravayavascha me Maitravarunascha ma Ashvinascha me Pratiprasthanascha me Shukrascha me Manthi cha ma Agrayanascha me Vaishvadevascha me Dhruvascha me Vaishvanarascha ma Ritugrahascha me Atigrahyascha ma Aindragnascha me Vaishvadevascha me Marutvatiyascha me Mahendrascha Maadityascha me Savitrascha me Sarasvatascha me Paushnascha me Patnivatascha me Hariyojanascha me Shayanacharya just explains that this is used in the Karma Kanda and all the invoked processes. May they bless the seeker. That is a simple explanation for this entire Anuvaka. Because there are so many technical words used here, for understanding which one has to be introduced to the Karma Kanda portions of the Veda, of which 90% of us do not understand 100% of the Karma Kanda prescribed. And this is way back in Shayanacharyaji's time. So if you are interested in understanding this, go to the Karma Kanda portion and learn the entire thing in a Gurukula, then you would understand these terms. A little effort in understanding it. Again, Yajnena kalpatam gets added in to the entire anuvaka. In the yaga karma, there is some specific rasa called soma rasa, often translated by the Western thinkers as something very intoxicating in nature, that having offered which those who are offering can get intoxicated after the offering. Because prasada. Soma means the moon. Somebody's car seems to be making unnecessary sound outside. If you can check whose car it is. Half the crowd is outside. Shri Krishna. So the Soma means the moon. As much as for the plants we require photosynthesis from the sun, in the presence of sun's light, the leaves do the chore called photosynthesis in creating packets or modules of energy for the entire plant. Ayurveda says that is not sufficient for the survival and the growth of the plant. Ayurveda prescribes that the plant necessarily has to have equal exposure to the moon's waning and waxing. Specifically, the full moonshine, is something that is required by the plant to acquire the medicinal qualities, herbal qualities. These herbs gathered after certain exposure of moon's light, they are squeezed, crushed to take the rasa from there, and that is offered into the yajna yaga karma. In today's world, when we perform the yajna, it has come down to its bare bones utility, wherein I have seen people performing a yajna, so-called yajna. With what I am going to say, I will be stopped from coming to houses where yajna is performed. In every house there is that fireplace. So in that fireplace, they place a aluminum tray, and in that tray things are offered. Any which wood that they can gain their hands on is offered in there, and yajna karma is done. To perform the yajna karma, the havana kunda, the sacrificial fire where it has to be invoked, there are specifications given. We have oversimplified the process for our conveniences. How many bricks go into the making of that yajna kunda is also specified. The dimensions of each brick is also specified. It would be a surprise to many of us that the houses and the brick size of the houses that we use are in that shape because that is how it is prescribed in the Vedas. That is the normal size. Along with that, how that fire has to be invoked. Once, very recently, about 7-8 years ago, I was at a center. Guruji was having his yajna, and the yajna inauguration, the lamp had to be lit. They had some process of that one lamp with already the light lit, and Guruji had to take that and light the bigger lamp. As he was picking it up, somebody rushed in and created a draft of wind, and that single light. And Guruji looked at, do you have something to light this? The esteemed member standing right next to him immediately pulled out from his pocket a lighter. And it was not a stare, but it probably could be classified as a glare from Guruji. And the only thing he said, meet me later after the yajna. Wherein how that fire has to be invoked is also very beautifully specified. And in that sacrificial fire, what kind of wood has to be used? The mango tree branches or the wood from mango tree, audumbara, people, then the banyan, and there is one more. It is right there whenever it comes out. These are collectively, all these 5 woods put together is called samit. Samit is not a special kind of tree. These dried wood pieces are called samit. Sandalwood is not a part of it. Hey Ram. Sandalwood is quite costly, even in those days. Audumbara, if you have gone to, especially in Maharashtra, there are these Dattatreya temples. There is a classification of fig tree. That tree is called Audumbara. I don't have an English translation for it. The fifth word, fifth tree, I have the name in Telugu, but its translation in Hindi or Sanskrit, I am not. It's called Medi in Telugu. If you can Google it up. Anyway, so these 5 are prescribed. Of these, when the fire has to be instant, then the people wood is used because it is low density and burns fast. When the fire has to be retained overnight for the next day, because when they do the Satra Yaga, which is continuous for about 41 days, the fire once lit, it is inauspicious to keep lighting it again and again. That fire is continued in the Dakshina Agni. So they put a huge log of acacia tree to continue the fire, but not to offer any havis into that fire. For that, these 5 are the main ones. Then with what mantra, what kind of havis has to be offered is also specified. Then the kind of fire that has to be generated is also specified. There are 7 different kinds of flames, and these 7 different kinds of flames are mentioned in the Karma Kanda based on the color of the flame. There is orangish color, there is red color, there is yellowish, there is sometimes bluish flame, there is sometimes green flame, there is sometimes dark flame. So Kali, Karali, Manojavacha, these are various names of the flames. And into such flames, the Soma Rasa is offered. This is a very specific aspect of lot of manoratha, lot of fulfillments of desires when invoked. The Soma Rasa and the offering of Soma Rasa is specified. Now, why am I going into so much of details? The rasa, which is extracted from the herbs. So, my take on it is that it is not the fresh sapidity of the herbs, but the oil essence of that herbs may have been extracted and be called as somarasa, a mixture of these herbs. I don't have the specific details as to what herbs are mixed in there, but my take on it would be that it would be the oil essence, the herbal essence taken out. And these various rasas, various offerings, the container in which they have to be contained is called the amshu. Agam sushchame, that agam, ga becomes therefore it is amshu, the amshu vessel. Rashmischame, rashmischame, and the one which is radiating is called rashmi. Adabhyaschame, these are all names of various vessels in which, if the main Panditji who is sitting there, he is called the Brahmana. Then there is Advaryu Hota. These are the names of the batch of Pandits who sit there to perform. And the main one is called Brahma. The main Brahmana is called Brahma. He is usually Chaturvedi, not by title but by virtue. By virtue meaning the one who has all the 4 Vedas by hearted, memorized. And the rest of them, they know. There are 4 others and they know each one of the Vedas. And when the Brahma says that Sama, such and such mantra, such and such samhita, such and such anuvaka has to be repeated these many times. And at that time, you cannot have your iPad or a book and then keep flipping around the pages to find which mantra, what has to be done. It has to be on their fingertips. So the Brahma says, take the Rashmi and chant this particular mantra. Rashmi meaning that container which has that kind of offering. There are about 21 different kinds of containers. And each container having those specific ingredients are specified. So it is not just, sitting there and throwing things into the fire. Swaha, swaha, and throwing things into the fire. It is quite a meticulous thing that people who know are invited. Therefore, the Yajamana is not the one who is Brahma. Usually, Yajamana does not need to know the entire process. He can employ these people who know the entire process, who do this entire Yajna karma on behalf of the Yajamana, making him do at certain points the processes involved. Brahma, Advaryu, Hota, Udghata. These are the 4. Udghata. Usually Udghata is in the Samagana. Udgayati iti Udghata. The one who sings the Samagana. Sama Veda, Sama mantras are the only ones which have a certain Shruti to be followed. Certain pitch to be followed. And they have a lot of musical intonations in it. Raga in it. Therefore, he is called Udgata. Anyway, continuing. Like there is Amshu Patra or the vessel, there is Upamshu. Upamshu. There's another vessel which is quite similar to the Amshu ingredients. It is called Upamshu. Of these different vessels, Shayanacharya says the Adhipati vessel is of great importance. Adhipati is usually the most prominent vessel among these different vessels that are offered. Antaryamascha. I mean, these are all different names of the vessels. So don't look at me with every word that I am saying. This is another vessel, Upamshu. Antaryama. Aindravayavascha. Aindravayava is another vessel. Maitra Varuna, another vessel holding different kind of somarasa. Pratiprasthana, Shukra, Manthi, Agrayana, Vaishvadeva, Dhruva, Vaishvanara, Rutugraha, Atigrahya, Marutvati, Mahendra, Aditya, Savitra, Saraswata, Paushna, Hariyojana. May all the ingredients of all these vessels which are used in the Yajna karma, may they be invoked into this self, into the Supreme, and may they all lead me to the highest stature of sadhana. So this is specifically focusing on, how many vessels did I say were there? Not 21, 29. 29 vessels are used. So please correct that. Now to all this explanation, Vishnu Suriji gives a completely different Vedantic explanation, which is what is of more interest. So even if you have missed or found the earlier explanation little confusing, it's okay. Bear with it. Because the specific meaning is given by Vishnu Suriji. He says that in the 6th Anuvaka, Indra is invoked as the Pratyagatma, the self, who is shown as the very core of all the divine deities that have been mentioned in the earlier Anuvaka, in the earlier paragraph. Now, those who have reached to the highest experience, which is called aparokshanubhuti, in this very life, how they leave their body is explained in various scriptures. There are two terms that are used. One term is called Panchatvam Gataha, and the other term used is called Panchatvam Vilinaha. So pay attention to these two words. Panchatvam Gataha, Panchatvam Vilinaha. Panchatvam Gataha, meaning all these 5 elements have been absorbed into its nascent or given back to its nascent form, thereby leaving this world and moving on to the next world. This is by that person who has not experienced the highest in this world here and now, is Panchatvam Gataha. He has been absorbed into the 5 elements. Panchatvam Vilinaha, on the other hand, is a conscious effort wherein the 5 elements have been with gratitude thanked and let gone, that there is no further cause for that individual jiva to come back. Such one is the Jnani. Now the Jnani process has been explained in many scriptures, that they do not have anything to do with the matter envelopment again. Therefore, there is no punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam for them. Every account is, they have found a closure to every account, including the 5 elements. Therefore, vilinaha, Vilinaha, completely dissolved. Gataha, they take these five elements and their subtleties to the next body and then evolve from there. Is the Ajnani, the one who is not Ajnani. But there is an intermediary phase of that person who is absorbed himself into severe sadhana in this life, but not found that final merger, and has led himself or herself to that intersection wherein there is not enough prarabdha for another birth, but did not touch the finishing line. So there is no scope for another birth and yet not realized. Very precarious condition. So what happens to them? They go through something called Krama Mukti. Not Jivan Mukti, but Krama Mukti. From here they leave to the Brahma Loka. Vishnu Suriji highlights here that this particular Anuvaka talks about the transmigration of this Jiva who has done severe penance and sadhana, has finished all his prarabdha, but yet not reached to the highest. What happens to their Jiva Gati? How do they reach to that Brahma Loka is explained here. Is the premise clear? Because this whole turf is very, very new with the terms and everything. So here Vishnu Suriji says that this Pratyagatma who is going on his path to the Brahma Loka, what happens is we have two nadis, Ida and Pingala, right and left, Ida, Pingala. And this Ida and Pingala have to merge with the Sushumna. Sushumna is the Antarvahini, which is in the spinal cord. Raise your hand if you lose me somewhere in between. Lost? So Ida, Pingala are the regulating nadis, and Sushumna nadi is the main nadi or the nervous system on which the Shat chakras are aligned. For those who perform the sadhana of pranayama, the Ida and Pingala have to merge into the Sushumna, and that is called Prayaga Sangama. The three Venis, the three flows of Ida, Pingala have to merge with the Antarvahini, which is the Sushumna, into that flow. And when that happens, Rashmi, Agam Sushchame is the merger, and the glow, Rashmi, with that glow, they move from Agni Loka to Vayu Loka to Surya Loka and finally arriving into Brahma Loka. And when they are going through this Krama Mukti, the denizens of these different worlds welcome them, Ehi iti. That you don't need to get confused with Bapre, I had these many lokas, I don't know, I don't have a travelogue, I don't have a, nobody has described this, how will I reach there? Don't worry. They will come and usher this Jiva from this Loka to Agni Loka, from Agni Loka into Vayu Loka, from Vayu Loka into Surya Loka, from Surya Loka into Brahma Loka. There is no direct flight. There are 4 or 3 stopovers in between. Agni, Vayu and Surya, finally reaching to Brahma Loka. Sometimes while reading through this, I came to a point where I put my pen down, writing my notes. TMI. Too much of information. Do I require this kind of information? But since the mantra has already specified it and we are learning the entire meaning, so we have signed up for it, so learn. So Agni, Vayu, Surya, and finally reaching to the Brahmaloka. The Chaturdasha Bhuvanas are not in directly alignment with this particular process. The Chaturdasha Bhuvanas, 7 worlds are down, then 7 worlds are up. So in those 7 worlds, each one of these gods or their loka which is mentioned are an aspect of that Chaturdasha Bhuvana. And ascending from one Bhuvana to the other, it is not that they go through all the 7 higher lokas. They have these 3 lokas in between in which they hop. The jiva hops, they are taken in ratha from one loka to the other. Now, if your specific question is which one of this Agni is in which loka, that much research is not done yet. Right? The Ida and Pingala are called the Upamshu, and the Sushumna is the Amshu, the merger is the Rashmi, and with that glow, they move from this loka to the other loka. And while this is happening, the Antaryami, they still carry the subtle body. Antakarana is still carried. That is the Antaryami. Antaryamascha Aindravayavascha the Indra and Vayu, these are the representatives of the deep sleep. Aindravaya is the Sakshi of this pranas. So what state is the Antakarana of this jiva? Is the Antaryami sthiti of being the Sakshi of every subtle movement that is happening. As that Sakshi, they move to the next world. Meaning it is of a very evolved stage. So they cross the deep sleep, they cross the dream state, they cross the waking state, which are mentioned here as the Maitra Varuna, Aindravayava, Maitra Varuna. These two, the deep sleep and the dream state. Ashvinaha is the waking state, which is the earthy smell. Ashvinaha, that's where both the Ashwini Kumaras stay in each one of the nostrils. So the smell, which is the earthy waking level, and they cross that. Pratiprasthana, finally reaching to the highest abode in that trip, called the Brahma Loka. Now, while they are going through this, I mean, this is how they go through this. How did they reach there? So this particular mantra talks about various methods that have been employed by this seeker. Now, what are the methods that are Shukrascha? Shukra means the river of nectar, Sudha, Sudhadhara. Manthi Agrayana. Agrayana is broken into Araha and Nyaha. This comes in Chandogya Upanishad. Vaishvadeva Vaishwadeva, Ashwatha tree called the Soma Savana, where gods reside. Dhruvaha, Brahma of long life. Vaishwanara, his ministers. Rutu, the well-known 6 seasons. Graha, all the 9 planets. All these are invoked. So the Sudha, Manthi, Agrayana, Vaishwadeva, Soma Savana, Dhruva, Vaishwanara, and Rutu and Graha. Graha, the Grahas. All their blessings are invoked so that the entire journey from here to the Brahma Loka is unhindered and auspicious. So to leave from this world and to go to that world doesn't seem to be a very simple path, wherein all these different aspects and their blessings are necessary, therefore they are being invoked. Does that make clear? As a concept at least. Grahyaha. Grahyaha, how did they evolve? Because this seeker has learnt that which is fit to be acquired. What is fit to be acquired? Those disciplines of Yama, Niyama, and the knowledge that the Veda, Purana, Itihasa, Shadanga, all these different scriptures, what they have taught, they have implicitly applied it into their lives and acquired that knowledge. Aindragni, they have performed different kinds of upasanas. Now for us to simplify and understand, having a Ishta Devata and performing that upasana of that Ishta Devata, learning the Vedanta Shastra and applying it, so the knowledge and the bhakti is the Aindragni, and then performing different kinds of yajna. There are 5 different kinds of yajna, like the Nri yajna, Pitru yajna, Bhuta yajna, Daiva yajna. So these yajnas are performed and they have transcended their Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsara, Shad Ripu. And they have reached, transcending these Shadripus is Marutvati, and transcending them depending on their Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha or Sannyasa ashrama. So that is also mentioned here. Paushna, these different stages, the austerities that have to be performed during the Brahmacharya is called Paushna. In the Grihastha ashrama, it is called Patnivata. Patnivata is the Grihastha ashrama austerities. Hariyojana, the austerities that have to be performed if that individual is in sannyasa ashrama. So wherever we are placed, that particular ashrama dharma having followed, performing the karma, fulfilling our responsibilities, doing the upasana, bhakti, acquiring the knowledge. So all 3 of them are equally emphasized. So when people come and ask, in Chinmaya mission, what do you follow? Are you Bhakti Margi or a Jnana Margi or you are Karma Margi? I tell them we are wholesale dealers. We deal with all the 3 margas with equal importance. Similarly, when they ask, which God do you worship? Do you worship, there are certain institutions, they worship only Krishna. There are some who worship only Dattatreya. So they have this association that an organization is usually dedicated to one deity. Which one do you offer? So we have Ramalayas, we have Shivalayas, we have Devi, various. So there also I say that we are not into retail business, we are into wholesale business. We worship all gods equally. So the Upasana Marga is equally important, Karma Marga is equally important, and Jnana Marga is also equally important. And each one of them as prescribed by the Ashrama Dharma, Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasa, performing them and evolving to that highest purified nature of being the witness, Antaryami, and then transcending from this loka into the Agni, then Vayu, then Surya, and finally reaching the Brahma loka. This is the process in which the individual who is acquired enough focus but not merged with that Paramatma, has not left enough prarabdha for another birth, reaches into Brahma loka in the Krama Mukti. Clear the overall picture? Now we move to the next Anuvaka. Please repeat after me. I thought I had already covered that aspect of it. That Krama Mukti, reaching Brahma Loka, that person is assured of moksha when Brahmaji finishes his term. As Brahmaji merges into that Paramatma, he takes all these different jivas who have reached Brahma Loka to finally merge. But having reached there into Brahma Loka, it is not a complete assurance that you may not slip from there. There are so many examples that people who have reached to that, the jivas who have reached to that Loka, have had a slip and they have come here. The famous example is Jaya Vijaya. They were in Vaikuntha. They slipped to Bhuloka. Not once, 3 times. Then there is Nahusha, who reaches to the Indra Sthiti, and from there he slips to become a Ajagara, a python. And there are so many such examples. So, and I would like to put it in a portrait in a different way. What do these jivas do having reached to that Brahma Loka? They have 24/7 constant satsanga with Brahmaji. Definitely it must be interesting. Now for us who can sleep through 1.5 hours, imagine yourself sitting in Brahma Loka with constant satsanga with Brahmaji until his tenure is finished. Then merge into that Paramatma without committing any kind of mistake or slipping through, maintaining your status there, and then finally merging into that Brahma Tattva. That is called Krama Mukti. So there is an assurance of Mukti, provided we are attuned with what Brahmaji is educating those jivas who have reached Brahma Loka. Clear? Now the 8th one. Idhmascha me barhischa me vedischa me dishniyascha me sruchascha me chamasascha me gravanascha me swaravascha ma uparavascha me dhishavane cha me drona kalashascha me vayavyani cha me पूतभृच्च म आधवनीयश्च म आग्निघ्रञ्च मे हविर्धानं च मे गृहाश्च मे सदश्च मे पुरोडाशाश्च मे पचताश्च मे अवभृतश्च मे स्वगाकारश्च मे. While chanting this mantra, there are certain times wherein the me becomes ma. Swaravascha ma uparavascha me. So whenever there are a lot of Panini rules here applied to understand. A simple way to understand it is whenever A is followed by a vowel, the A is absorbed and only A remains. Therefore, may becomes ma. Just remember that much. There is a clause wherein if that vowel is followed by certain consonants, then it becomes avagraha. Like adhishavani, a is followed by dha, therefore me is followed by avagraha. Clear? This is a Sanskrit rule. Understand? You cannot avoid putting an avagraha because the a is followed by dha. There are certain consonants, and for each varga of consonant there is a rule. Now continuing more into the technicality. Idhmascha me, idhma, the different kinds of firewood that is offered, the dried sticks. Barhischa me, the darbha grass, the sacred grass. Vedhischa me, vedhi is a narrow platform in the midst of sacred fire. Whenever there is that sacred fire, the four sides, there is a small platform which is raised. In lieu of that, they put another brick so that they can place all these patra, different vessels there, and then from there offer it into the fire. That little platform is called vedhi. Usually that platform is to be made of certain wood, but instead even a brick is used as a pratyamnaya. So if you can recollect the Yajna Kunda, the four sides, there is one brick which is along with that, but it's standing out. Can you recollect it? So that is called the Vedhi. Vedhischa me. Dhishniyascha me. Dhishniyascha me. Now on the side for the hota who is sitting, remember the four people who are sitting there? Of them, the hota, there is a platform raised, and that platform raised is called Dhishniyascha me. Dhishniya. Sruchascha me. Sruk is that stick or the spoon or the ladle that is used to carry ghee from the vessel into the fire. That is called sruk. Chamasascha me. Chamasascha me. Now the soma rasa is not directly poured from the vessel into the fire, but there is a flat ladle. with a small hole in it. Have you seen the Yajna Karma? There are two types of ladles that are often used. One is round and has a little quantity that you can carry in it. The second one is flat and squarish in shape with a small hole so that the soma rasa is contained in that squarish space and is regulated speed with which it is poured. So there is a hole. That squarish ladle is called chamasaschame, gravaanaschame. Gravaanaschame is the mortar pestle which is handily kept to crush this soma, the different herbs, and to extract the rasa. Gravaanaschame. Svaravaschame. Svaravaschame, there is a sacrificial post, or Svaravaschame can also mean that there are specific tools, like there are wooden knives. So they are also called Svaravascha. Uparava. Uparava are 4 pits, each a cubit deep, dug in the Havirdhana. So this is another kind of tool that is required to perform the yajna. Dhishavane chame, adhishavane chame. Adhishavana is a flat piece of ladle which is specifically carved from fig tree, and it is carved along with the bark. So there is some specification for it. Drona kalashaschame. Drona kalasha is a cup made of either mango leaf or banyan leaf or a lotus leaf. I mean, if you really see all this, it's a cool assembly of equipment. Drona is usually the like katori, vati, made out of leaf. So if you see the that is Drona Kalasha. That donne is called Drona Kalasha. So the leaf is bent on both sides, and the sides of it that protrudes is tied in, and with the darba grass it is strewn in, stitched in. So it forms a cup kind of a shape, and in that they pour different things required. And if you ever get caught in a forest kind of environment, this is a good cool trick to carry water or anything. That is called Drona Kalasha. Vayavyani chame. Vayavyani chame, there are different kinds of vessels made of wood. Puta bhrit chame, there are vessels made of the mud, clay. Puta bhrit chame, meaning the yajna kunda has to be made of bricks. Our aluminum foiled thing, it doesn't cut it, and steel spoons and ladles and other things that we use as pratyamnaya today also doesn't seem to cut. Ziploc bags used as containers also is not considered as auspicious. And lucky that all these different tools that are being mentioned, I've had more than once an opportunity to not just see them, but also use them in performing a 41-day yajna karma. When I was a brahmachari in Vijayawada, we had done a Varuna Homa invoking Varuna And the first time we did it, we had no clue how it would turn around. And Varuna Homa is usually invoked to have rains. And as we were prepping up for the Purnahuti on the 41st day, we had not yet started. The mantra has to be started. The ingredients for Purnahuti were being assembled. It started raining like cats and dogs. By the time Purnahuti mantra was done, we were scared that the water level had raised to such a height that it could be soon trickling into the Yajna Kunda. So the next time onwards, when we started the Varuna Homa, we did this for about 4 years consecutively, every year at a certain period during summer, because in and around that particular ashram, you must have heard of Kadapa region, right? It's a very dry area, and the ashram there was smack in the middle of nowhere. And to find water, we had to have bore wells dug almost up to 200 feet. It's quite deep. After these 4 years, about I would say 60-70 kilometers area, people have started harvesting and doing cultivation because the water levels have risen. They have never seen, almost for 2-3 generations, having paddy fields in those areas because of lack of water. And today they are quite green, and the water levels have raised because of the Varuna Homa. Okay, continuing, Puta Bhrutchame, the containers made out of clay. Adhavaniyaschame. Adhavaniyaschame, specific kind of mud containers made for specific use of Somarasa. Agnighranchame. Agnighranchame is used for a specific purpose of invoking fire. So the fire, the way it is invoked, there are 2 cups made of wood, and there is a wooden stick. Have you seen in the villages how they make butter out of yogurt, curds? There is a stick, and then there is a rope tied in. I'm not talking about the simple hand churner. So there is a pot full of, huge pot full of curd, and then there is this stick which is usually near the wall, and then the stick has rope, and then you move the rope, moving this churning ladle. It has got few, it's like a star when you see it from the top, and then you move it. A similar kind of construction of the wood, and the Brahmana have to be quite healthy. The reason is that the stick is placed vertically in between these 2 cups, and then the rope is tied in. The lower cup is held by the feet, and you churn that stick. While this churning is happening, there is another Purohit who is holding the upper cup with pressure, creating friction. So in the bottom cup, because of this friction, when the fire erupts, so these 2 kalasha, these 2 arani it is called. The other word of Agnighram is called arani. So these 2 aranis is where the fire is invoked. It is not from a matchbox, it is not from a lighter. So it is a process in itself. Havirdhananchame, a platform raised for keeping all the havish separate from all other offerings. Havish depends on what kind of havan is being done. sometimes it is a porridge, sometimes it is white cooked rice, sometimes it is the I have only the Hindi word for it, puffed rice. The puffed rice. There is puffed rice made from the maize. There is puffed rice made from the millet. There is puffed rice made from the rice itself, rice grains. So different kinds of puffed rice. And if you are doing Chandi Yaga, there is one kind of Chandi Yaga wherein the Havish is 1,000 lotuses. There is one kind of Chandi Yaga wherein the Havish is red chilies. So when you burn red chilies, have you ever done that? So when you burn red chilies, the entire space gets filled with the suffocating smoke and you are coughing and sneezing your lungs out. During Chandi Yaga, when these fistful of red chilies, dried red chilies are thrown into the fire, usually the expected reaction would be that you are coughing your lungs out for the rest of your life. But it does not have that sting in it. I don't know what happens in that fire, especially during the Chandi Yaga. So the Havish changes. So there is a platform for that Havish that is called Havirdhana. Grihascha mein, that portion of the Yajna Mandapa wherein all the housewives are working, creating different naivedya, creating all the cooking aspect of it where it is done. That portion is called Grihascha. Puroda Shascha. Puroda Shascha, there are certain kinds of preparations from rice. They are called Puroda Shascha. Pachatascha. Pachatascha, there is a Dakshinagni in which the Havish is cooked. So that Dakshinagni is called Pachatascha. Avabhrutascha. Avabhruta is the sacred bath taken after the Yajna is performed. It is said that Gurudev, after performing these Yajnas in the early 60s up until 70s, in those days he would deliver lectures for 100 days, 40 days, 70 days. After performing the Jnana Yajna, he would have one day of Akhanda Nama Sankirtana. There will be one Nama taken and they will have batches of them come and perform Akhanda Nama Sankirtana. And then there is the Purnahuti, the puja is done. After that, he would take all of them to the nearby pond, lake, river or ocean and have the sacred bath. That would be called the Avabhruta Snana. If you have ever seen Gurudev in his younger days as Swami Chinmayananda, there is that picture wherein he is walking and there are people with kalasha following him. That was for the Avabhruta Snana in Chennai when he had concluded his yajna there for the first time. So Avabhruta Snana, the sacred bath, ceremonial bath after the completion of sacrifice. Swagakarascha. Swagakara, there are different mantras for invoking the blessings of different deities, different gods. Those mantras are called Swagakara. Now, all these are invoked so that even the Bahiranga Yajna, the earlier mantra was talking about the Antar Yajna of the Jiva and his movement to Brahma Loka. This is at the Sthula level, that every kind, in those days, they were all focused on the Yajna Karma. Therefore, the example must be the Yajna Karma. Today, when we are performing our responsibilities, duties in the world, everything that is invoked, everything that is used in our day-to-day karma has to be seen with this kind of sanctity and sacredness, and nothing is used or interacted with a flippant or callous nature. That I have it in abundance, therefore I can be callous. But every aspect of what I use in my day-to-day interactions has to be dealt with sanctity. And with that sacredness, invoke the blessings of everything that I interact with. There is this book that was published called Book of Hymns. Remember when we distributed, I made a very sad joke on it. God is definitely male. If it were female, it would be called Book of Hers and not Hymns. Yes, you could look at me like that. So in that, in the very initial shlokas, for every aspect of our day-to-day life, there is a shloka mentioned. Before bath, after bath, even before waking up, we touch the earth, before we step onto the earth, asking her pardon and excusing ourselves in walking on the earth. And before bath, after bath, before food. And that shloka at least you all should know. Brahmarpanam Brahmavihi, so that is mentioned. Even for plucking flowers from the tree, there is a kshama prarthana. That the best of you have put in an effort in bringing this blossoming in your nature, and I am going to take that as an offering. Kshamaswame. Please pardon me for taking these flowers. And this is not for my swartha, for my decorative purposes or anything, but it is for offering to the Lord. Therefore, please pardon me while I am plucking these flowers from you. So every aspect of it is sanctified, and every material used, we invoke the blessings of that material to benefit us, to constantly focus and create that focal point on that divinity in every walk of our life. So here the example is taken as the yajna karma. Now, if today in modern world it has to be said, you could take any example. So the example here is about the yajna and various equipments and tools that are used in the yajna. And our Vishnu Suriji, he says that all these different kinds of equipments which are used, our attitude towards the world around should be of seeking blessings and offering our salutations in gratitude for constantly interacting and using the material that we use for our sustenance. That attitude has to be created. I think I'll stop here, which would mean that tomorrow would be the last day for the entire series that we have started way back then. We have 3 more anuvakas, and we should be able to cover these 3 anuvakas tomorrow. So tomorrow we will be having Samashti Prasada. When I say Samashti Prasada, it is not one hand prasada, it is a big plate prasada. So come prepared with good pate. After the yajna, there will be a Mahaprasada, and we'll have final arati and do the bhiksha here after the yajna is done. It is being coordinated by those 2 ammas. So if you want to participate, please coordinate with them. Anything else to be announced, Amma? That's it. So tomorrow, I think we started about 3 years ago, but last year we, for various reasons, it could not be conducted. And talks, tried it many times, but it would get cancelled. Finally, again, we could muster up enough momentum to continue. And after 15 series, each series of about 5 talks, it's about, I would say, 70 plus talks. I am thoroughly joyous that I've had this opportunity to read through entire Rudram along with various commentaries, which could not have been possible without Gurudev's blessings and all those commentators who have commented, those rishis and their blessings. So, invoking their blessings on everybody who is listening to this discourse with the gratitude for this opportunity. Ecstatic that tomorrow is the final talk or final discourse on this Rudradhyayi namaka chamaka prashna. So please do come tomorrow. The grand finale, home run. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.